Welcome to Hey Soul Sista, the podcast for women ready to embrace greater joy, freedom, and a soulful life. This is your space for deep conversations, meaningful stories, and inspiring guidance to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, follow, like, and share. Before we dive into today's conversation, I want to let you know that this episode includes discussion of domestic and family violence, trauma, and the loss of a parent. These are sensitive topics that may be upsetting for some listeners, and it's totally okay if you just want to switch off or come back and listen again later on. Hey, Courtney, thank you so much for coming on Hey Soul Sista today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are a really wonderful advocate for women and children who've experienced domestic and family violence, especially off the back of your own personal lived experience. The world needs more wonderful people like you who are out there, who are passionate and really doing their best to make change in the world, positive change. And you've had quite the journey in your life to get to this point. Tell us about little Courtney.
Yeah, thank you. They're beautiful words, so I really appreciate that. It's interesting. I reflect a lot on my childhood because, unfortunately, a lot of the tragedies and the dark times can take over and consume you, but it wasn't always bad, and I have a lot of beautiful memories growing up, which is what I really try to, remind myself of. But growing up, I came from a typical Noongar family, grew up with all of my siblings and my cousins and my aunties and uncles and my nanas and my pops. It was very sweet, in my early childhood. My nickname growing up was actually Skint Rabbit because when I was born, I came out and I was so fair and I had blonde hair that, my grandmother gave me that nickname and it just stuck. So even today I get called Skint Rabbit. Yeah, when I think about my childhood, I think about just being around family, swimming down at the river, going crabbing, like all of those things that I suppose your typical Noongar family would do. There was a lot of love in my childhood and, some dear, dear memories that I hold on to forever.
And you grew up in the Bunbury area?
Yeah. So from the southwest of Western Australia, that's where my mum and her family from, but my dad is also from a small regional town up in the Wheatbelt called Beverley, so a tiny town up there. So I kind of floated to and from each town, but predominantly grew up in Bunbury.
Yeah, we were talking earlier today about how beautiful Western Australia is.
It truly is, and no wonder why I'm a beach snob today, because I had the luxury of growing up on, the most beautiful coastal lines, and it's a sense of home. And it's interesting, the beaches in Melbourne where I live now are a brown bay, but no, Melbourne's also beautiful. But WA is home to me, and it's such a very special place.
Yeah. And so tell me, what does being a Noongar woman mean to you today?
Yeah, I suppose, it's my whole identity. It's everything that I am and, all of my beliefs. And it's so interesting. I was never questioned of my Aboriginality until I moved to Melbourne. And when that first happened to me, I was so confused that someone would look at me and not see me as an Aboriginal person, because that's all I've ever known my entire life growing up. I'm a community kid. I was raised in community. Both my mum and dad are Aboriginal. My entire family are Aboriginal. So I couldn't comprehend that someone would look at me and not see me as an Aboriginal person. So it took me a little while to kind of understand where they were coming from, and that says more about them than me. So when I think about what it means to be an Aboriginal person, a Noongar woman, my bloodline is strong. I know who I am. I know where I come from, and no one can ever take that away from me. And I'm sitting here today because of all of my elders who came before me. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. And, it comes with great pride to be able to come from the longest living culture in the whole world. And we only make up, 3% of the population. So when you think of it like that, I feel very lucky to come from that bloodline. And I think what people misunderstand is that Aboriginal people, we don't all look the same. Like, I'm fair in appearance and I have blonde hair, but I am Aboriginal. That's all I've ever known. And I'm just really proud of us as a culture and as people, because obviously they tried to get rid of us not that long ago when you think about it, but we're still here thriving. So really proud of us as a whole people that we're still here.
Yeah. And I bet they're super proud of you.
Yeah. I mean, of course, but I think you just kind of you just go through life and all these things get thrown at you and you have a decision to make, and hopefully I'm doing something right to be a part of creating a ripple effect of change.
You absolutely are. You really are. Now, playing AFL has been a big part of your journey. How did you get into it? Because you're a superstar. You're an AFL female
Footy player.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you find the sport?
So I actually fell in love with the sport when I was around, 13 or 14, because my brother actually played footy and he was really talented. He was one of those annoying big brothers that was good at every sport, right? And so there was this expectation that I knew how to play footy, which I did not at all, but I took that expectation quite seriously. But for me, as well as a lot of other female footballers, footy wasn't allowed for us back in the day, or there wasn't a league that existed for women. And so I played with the boys for a little while, and I just fell in love with the game and was lucky enough to kind of be recognised and get selected to represent WA in state competitions.
Do you ever think that you would become an AFL superstar?
No, I mean, not at all. Playing VFLW and moving from my country town, my hometown, where not many people in my family just kind of uprooted and left, but I did that. So it's been nice to kind of show my community that we can do these things. We are capable of doing these things, but absolutely not. I get to play footy today because I still love it, which is so great. I'm a bit of a veteran now, so I've been around for a long time, and just glad my little legs have been able to get me through this far.
And now I read somewhere that you had said that AFL is a personal form of spiritual healing and confidence building.
Yeah, I mean, footy, and I say this a lot, like footy saved my life. It truly did. It brought me back from such a really dark place, and I don't take it lightly when I say those things because I really don't know where I would be if it weren't for the game. And I think my greatest strength is what I've been able to do off field, but what the game has done for me has given me another lease on life, another look at life, and it's taken me all over the country, and I'm so grateful for it. And a part of that has become that real spiritual, that real healing journey for me as well. But it's different today. I get to play because I love it and I love the game, but it definitely saved my life all those years ago.
You've experienced a lot of tragedy and trauma in your life, which has set you off on a whole journey where you're out doing amazing things in the world. Do you mind if we talk about that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Waangkiny means talking in my language, and we are a social enterprise dedicated to creating a ripple effect of change. Our mission is to inspire and empower as many individuals and communities to transform adversity into influence through the power of storytelling. Now, this was all born from my own personal struggles. I lost my dad tragically when I was 11. He was 36 years young. And then when I was 19 years old, my mum was murdered. She was 42 years young. So Waangkiny was built off of my own personal experience, really turning my pain into power. And I truly don't know how I got here, but I did somehow, and really proud of what I've been able to build. I mean, we're still in our infancy and it's still building, and I'm really excited about where I can take this. But Waangkiny isn't about me. It's for everyone that's going to come after me. So, no, I am operating by myself solely, which is it's so fun and exciting and scary and hard and exhausting and frustrating and all of the things. And every person that I've spoken to about my struggles and some of the things that I'm facing with having a business, they all say the same thing, and they say, no one knows what they're doing. No one knows what they're doing. So it makes me think I must be doing something right.
You absolutely are. I knew nothing. I didn't got your back, sister. And but you find your way, right? And the right people come into your life, and you get the right advice, and then you grow and you learn and you build, and that keeps going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely does. And I've met some incredible people along the way, and I'm a big believer in the timing of things, and I really do believe that everything falls into place when it's supposed to. And so I am excited about how far we can take Waangkiny. But yeah, it is just me operating and delivering
at the moment.
And that's just how it's working for me right now, and I'm okay with that. But I do have big dreams for Waangkiny. But for right now, I'm really proud of what we've been able to do and the people we've been able to reach. And I really still feel like it's just the beginning.
Can we go back to you and your mum? Mm-hmm. What was she like as a mum?
My mum. It's so funny. I've only recently started talking about this for so much of my adolescence life and, my young teenager life, coming into my own personality and learning my own perspectives and things like that. Mum was someone who I didn't want to be like. It was this adult in your life that is meant to look after you, feed you, meet your basic needs, right? And so for a lot of our life, that wasn't necessarily the case. And only as an adult now do I have a greater understanding of it all. But back then I didn't, right? So unfortunately, with my mum's traumas and the things that she experienced, led her down a really destructive path with drug and alcohol abuse. And so for the only adult that I had in my life in our home, it was behavior that I didn't want to model. I didn't want to be like that, right? And so it's weird. It's like it was almost like a learning in that, right? It was like as much as we suffered because of that, it also was a great learning curve to be like, okay, I don't want to be like that, right? But now as an adult, I'm so much like my mum. She was the most kind person. My mum was many things, but she was not a hater. She loved everybody. She didn't judge. Like, she would give you the shirt off her back if it meant she was helping you. And she just had this way of her where you could just be whoever you wanted to be, and she was someone who was never going to judge you for that. She also showed so much pride in like the littlest things. We could do the bare minimum, but she would be so proud of us. And she probably didn't voice it to our face, but she loved to write a Facebook status about it. So I've got some beautiful memories that pop up all the time, actually, and it'll be mum just expressing how much she loves us and how proud she is. And it's so nice to have that, especially now as an adult navigating life without both mum and dad. And I feel that today, and even going back through our old messages and the way we just would tell each other that we loved each other so much all the time. Like, I think about my adult friends today, and I feel like they don't say it as much to them, even though they might absolutely feel that way, but just the way that we would express that to each other. I think we had a very beautiful relationship and a very beautiful bond, but we all had our own little bond with mum. But mum's love was never in question, and that's something that I hold dear to me, and I still feel today.
What did she teach you?
Honestly, I think one of the biggest things that she taught me about life is just the ability we have as humans to be kind. My mum was, the moment she was brought into this life, experienced a long, hard, tough battle of abuse with all the men that came into her life. And at no point, did she ever make us feel a certain way about these people. She never spoke bad about them. She still showed love to these people. And as young kids, that's frustrating, right? Because it's like you're getting hurt, but nothing's being done about it, or why aren't we leaving? And you form your own opinions and ideas on what you think love is, right? But I still think the way she still had love and kindness in her heart, especially towards these people that hurt her, just showed me the true ability we have as humans to be kind is just so, so precious.
What a gift, hey?
Mm.
Yeah. Seeing you today, because we've been shooting a campaign video all day today, she would be so proud of you, because what I saw of you today was how kind you were to everybody that came along to the shoot, and you gave everybody your time, when that's really draining, right? When you've got people wanting to talk to you and you're reading lines, reading a script, and you're performing in a way, but you're really wonderful and so giving and very kind to everybody. And I think your mum would have been so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. No, I definitely feel their presence. And there's a saying that I always say is that my mum and dad may not be here earthside, but they are alive in me. And I truly feel that, and I know that to be true, because this work is hard. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And I think that they've given me the strength to be able to do this work, both mum and dad. And it's different when I think about the loss of dad and then the loss of my mum. I feel like I'm obviously drawn to my mum because that experience was later on in life, but it's them both. And yeah, I find myself talking to my mum all the time, and because when you are spiritual, she answers. Or there's signs that happen all the time. Remember the sign this morning when we got to the hair and makeup, mum's initials on the car that drove past. I said to you, I've been seeing just JW everywhere. And I've never been to Newcastle. As soon as we get out of the car, JW on the number plate goes past. So There's signs.
Absolutely. I believe that. Absolutely. Now, I don't know if this is a sign, but this was weird when we were at Strzelecki at the end and we looked up and the pelicans flying overhead. I don't know if that was a sign, but I was like, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And we both had our own little thought about what that meant. Yeah, no, I'm very open to it, and I think being so open allows me to still feel so connected to my mum. And you speak to anyone who's close to me knows of all of my experiences and the things that happened to me because I am open to this, and it is the strongest way that I do still feel connected to her.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking, where were you when you found out that she'd been murdered?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can talk you through the day actually, because I remember this day so clearly because it was the worst day of my life. So at this point, Mum had moved to Perth from Bunbury. And we were all so proud of her because she took this opportunity to get her life back on track and really start fresh and to come to footy games and to be with her grandbabies. And as much as there was a lot of hurt growing up, there was still so much more love, and that was what shone through. So we were all so excited and rallied behind her, right? So she made this move to Perth in January of 2016, and it was March the 9th, 2016. And I remember this day because I rang her in the morning on my drive to work because she owed me $20 and I wanted my $20 back. She didn't answer. I didn't think anything of it. So I knew I had a meeting on that side of town later that day. So I said to myself, I'll just go and see her then. So I'm driving to Mum's house and I drive past my footy club and my baby sister is actually working there as a trainee. So I was like, I should just go in and check on her, make sure she's got lunch. Anyway, sitting down, we're talking and my phone starts to ring and it's my brother. And I said out loud, I was like, oh, he never calls me throughout the day. I wonder what's wrong. Answered it, and he just said, something has happened at Mum's house. You need to get there now. And so, gut feelings, like my gut was screaming at me. And so I screamed for my little sister and we get in the car and it was only a short drive, but we get to the house and there were police and ambulance everywhere. And this man who had been on and off with my mum for years was at the front. And I just screamed like, what the fuck did you do? What did you do to her? Knowing that there was a long history of violence. I didn't know, but I just in my gut felt like something was really terrible. Something terrible has happened. Anyway, I tried to run inside to go find Mum and get pushed out by paramedics. And my little sister and I stood back and watched our mum's body come out on a stretcher. And at this stage, we still didn't know the severity of the situation. We just knew it was really bad. And the paramedics tried to calm us down and just said, you need to drive behind us. Your mum is not in a good way. You need to come to the hospital. So still at that point, we didn't know how bad it was. That drive behind the ambulance, the sirens on, our mum in the back. I got my little sister with me and I'm not a religious person, but I was praying to something like, please, please, please don't let this be what I think it is, please. She's been in situations before. She's always come home. She's always come out. So we get to the hospital and then they put us in a room and you're starting to make these things up in your head like, why would they put us in a room? Where's Mum? What's happening? And I'll never forget the nurse. She came in and she was shaking and she had tears rolling down her face. And she said the paramedics did everything that they could, but your mum has passed away. And later that night he was charged with her murder.
Oh, my God, I can't even imagine. You poor love, you and your little sister and your brothers and your brother and sister. Oh, my God. And what did he say to you?
When I screamed at him, when I said, what the fuck did you do? What did you do to her? He said, I didn't do anything. She was taking those pills again. And then he said a different story to my sister and a different story to the police officers. And he actually pleaded not guilty. So 18 months after we went to a trial process. So I had to give evidence in my mum's murder trial. Like, even saying that out loud now, I'm like, I still can't believe that happened. Like, that's the type of shit you see on TV, on Netflix documentaries. You don't think that can happen to you. But that was our reality and that's what was required of us to do. It was so scary, getting up in court and...
Because you're like 19, right?
Yeah, I was 19 at the time. So by the time the trial came around, I would have been 21. Yeah.
Oh, that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, 18 months. But I gave evidence. It was a 2-week-long trial and the jury didn't take too long to make their decision and he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. And they didn't consider the time already served as well. So that was, I'm not going to say that was nice, but fair enough,
I can't imagine actually number one, having to go through that whole process and reliving that, but sitting in the room with him.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to make eye contact. You don't know. You have no idea. And I'm scared. Like, I'm so scared.
And you're a girl.
I am a little girl. So that was so confronting in so many different ways. And I remember a group of year 12 students who must have had like a thing at school. What's it called? Legal studies or something. I don't know. Anyway, so they ended up coming in because it was anyone could come into the trial. I remember them walking in and just being like, sorry, and then like sitting down, and they're all just here to hear some kind of, story. And I'm like, that's my mum. And these people had no idea, like they were just coming in to have some experience. And I'm like, this is my mum's murder trial. I don't know how I remember that specifically, but I remember thinking like, you're going to walk out here and you're all going to be fine.
You're going to go live your life.
And we're going to come back tomorrow because it's only day 7, Yeah, that was difficult, but I did what I needed to do, and mum got justice. But at the end of the day, I think you felt good when the verdict got read out for a second. It was like, yes. Oh, but
now I've still got to live with
now
that.
That's right. Yeah.
I have to wake up tomorrow and my mum's not
Still
here.
not here. Yeah. Yeah. So that was really challenging. Yeah.
Did you ever get an opportunity at the end of the court case, where people can make a victim impact statement? Mm-hmm. Did you get that opportunity to look him in the eye and say anything to him?
No. And I don't think we wrote a victim impact statement, but we didn't get to say it to him. Now, this is going to be interesting because some people will understand this and some people won't, but I don't hate this man, because what is hating him going to do? It's not going to bring my mum back. And now, look, I can't speak for everyone in my family, but it was just something that I decided that I was going to do because that was the best thing for me to do. Because if I continued to hate him and wish, the worst upon him and have all these yucky feelings, it was only going to stop me from living life. And like, it wasn't easy getting to that point, but I knew that I wasn't going to let it define me in a negative way. But hating him wasn't going to bring my mum back. He's where he needs to be, and I have a life that I want to live.
Good on you. Yeah, good on you. So from then, what was the journey to starting Waangkiny?
So I was still living in Perth at this stage, and I remember just the moment that I felt myself again was when I was able to get back down to footy, and I was just playing in the state league in Waffle, playing for Swan Districts, and I remember just feeling myself the moment I could get back down there, start running around with my friends, kicking the ball and doing what I loved. But there was a moment where I was like, there's got to be something more to life. Like I'm trying to get back into some routine. I wasn't trying to get back to normal, right? Because you're not normal after something like this. Well, you have a new normal, but your normal, what you had known it to be before that, that's never going to be the same again.
Yeah, because every day you're waking up and your mum's not there.
That's right. And you have to navigate this new life that you have, right? So trying to get back into some kind of routine was challenging, but I remember thinking like this, there's something more for me out there. I don't know this. I got to go and see the world. So I felt like I was pretty well connected in the footy community and literally rang clubs from across the nation, pretty much begging for a spot on their list, and was just like, I need to go. I need an opportunity. And Essendon were actually coming into the VFLW in the inaugural year of 2018. And I'd rang and kind of begged and pleaded, and purely off a character reference, they rang me back and said they will offer me a spot on their list. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm moving to Melbourne. I'm just a little Noongar kid from Bunbury. Like, the idea of me moving to Melbourne by choice was terrifying. It was so scary. So anyway, packed up my entire life and put it all into 2 suitcases and moved to the other side of the country for an opportunity to play football. Well, that's what everyone thought it was, but it was an opportunity to change my life. And there's a video of me sobbing as I'm walking onto the plane, waving goodbye to my family. I'm sobbing, but like, she had no idea what was waiting for her on the other side. And so it's been almost 7 years of living away from country, away from my family. And so much has happened. And in amongst all that, Waangkiny was built for sure. But I always say, like, we're just about a year old because I got my ABN officially not that long ago. So that's when I, started. But I'd been telling my story way before then.
So what was the first time that you told your story?
Well, so whilst we were, helping mum move from Bunbury to Perth, kind of people got wind of it, and I had a friend that worked at the ABC and said, this is a beautiful news story, mum coming back to her kids and getting her life on track, like would love to record this. And because I'm not camera shy, I was like, yeah, let's do that. But, you know, to my surprise, my family agreed and we were all meant to do this story. And then, you know, my mum was murdered and her life was taken away from her. That obviously that got put on hold because how can you still share your story without your mum, right? And so my friend hit me up a couple of months later and said, I don't want to be insensitive, but like, is this something you'd want to do? Share your story now. And after speaking with my family, made the decision that I was going to start sharing, that I was going to share the story, and I haven't stopped. So since 2016, I haven't stopped sharing my story. And now, you know, Waangkiny exists and I work for myself full time, sharing my story with the world. I talk about what it was like growing up and show photos how us as Aboriginal people, how we come in all different shades. You know, there's, you know, my sister who's quite darker in appearance with dark curly hair, and then there's me really fair, and my brother, he's Ranger, and we've got red everywhere, all different colours, you know, but we all come from the same bloodline. So I share about that, and obviously your dad's death and then mum's death as well. But the story isn't about that. The story is what I've been able to do outside of the way that I've lost my mum and dad. So I speak mostly about how I built Waangkiny, how sport was a driving force in my healing, in my life, the saving grace that it was. But I also speak about gender-based violence and how that affects us as a society and a community, and how this was an environment that was considered normal. And we talk about how it's not normal at all. Like there's nothing normal about family domestic violence.
Because that's something that we were talking about today. You mentioned to me was that was kind of normal.
Yeah, it was.
When you were growing up, it was considered normal, was domestic family violence.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't just happening in our household. You know, it was happening in like, I don't want to say everyone's household, but we weren't the only people experiencing this, you know. Ours was just quite severe, but we weren't the only ones experiencing this. And as a young kid, when that's what you see all around you, you do start to form an idea that that is what love is meant to be like, you know. And I had to unlearn a lot of toxic behaviours and thought processes myself, because how was I meant to know any different if that's the behaviour that was modelled for most of my life? And so I talk about how you can unlearn toxic ways, behaviours, perspectives, and you can learn just as much. So talking about what has happened to us, and we do have the ability to change the course of our lives if we want to. And my story is one of hopes and big dreams, and that's what I hope people get from the storytelling process when I share my story with them. That's what I want them to leave with, is to dare them to dream big.
Yeah. Do you still feel today, 10 years on from your mother's murder, do you still feel the grief and the trauma from that whole experience from that time?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel it as if it was that day, you know. And I remember saying this in a podcast that I'd done not too long ago, and now I never listen back to my own podcast, but I listened back to this one and I watched the visual of it, and I remember watching it crying because I felt so sad for that girl, and I'm like, oh my God, that's me. And there was a line that when I listened to it back really struck me. I remember the day after Mum passed away, I remember driving from my house to my brother's house, and I remember there was a bus in front of me, right? And if you know this road, you know that if you get stuck behind a bus, like it's just, you're stuck. You can't overtake, that's just you. And I remember being stuck, and I remember screaming so loud and bashing like my steering wheel and just screaming, why, like at the top of my lungs, and screaming for my mum. And I don't remember, you know, screaming like that after the fact, right? I don't remember doing that ever again. But I said in this podcast that I still feel that way that I did in that moment. I just don't scream. So the pain still exists so much and I feel it, but I just don't scream. So yeah, it's still there 10 years on. Yeah.
I'm really sorry that you had to experience all of that. And I guess, you know, with your Got Your Back sister and the women that we see day in, day out, that's the horror and the insidious nature of domestic family violence, is that the physical scars may heal, or there may have been no physical scars. but the emotional scars and the trauma live on and may never heal, or hopefully they heal if that person goes on that healing journey.
Yeah.
Because it's a conscious thing that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I've learned also over the time is that, we think that when trauma occurs, right, we think that it's the event that happens, right? But it's actually what happens inside of you. That's what trauma is. And the only good thing about trauma is that it can be healed at any time. It can. But like you said, people have to want to go on that healing journey because it is horrible. It is disgusting. It's uncomfortable. It's sad. It's painful. But what's waiting on the other side can be so beautiful. But, it's so hard, but it's not impossible. But trauma lives in our body. That's what it is. But we can heal it. And that's what I want to show people because so many of us are walking around with trauma.
And for many different reasons,
That's right. Yeah.
We're talking about domestic family violence.
Yeah.
But there are so many different types of trauma.
That's right.
Yeah. And I love that you said that we want to get onto the other side of that. We want to heal. So you get on the other side so you have your hopes and dreams and you're going and you're living your most joyful life.
I'm really trying, it's sometimes I sit and reflect and I still think like, how did I get here? How did I get here? It's been almost 10 years for my mum. I remember that day so clearly. I was 19 years old, because where do you go from there? You're 19 years old. Like, where do you go from there?
You're a baby.
Yeah.
And you've still got these milestones in your life, things that are going to happen
Yeah.
and your mum is not going to be there.
Yeah. And I miss her most in the little things, I've gone and done some pretty cool things in my life, but it's the little things that I miss her the most. Even when I just want to have a bitch about one of my siblings, because we all do it. But, just to pick up the phone and like, Mum, or what are you up to? Like even just the thought of picking Mum up and being like, all right, I'm taking you food shopping and you can get whatever you want. That wasn't a thing that we had back in the day, like we struggled to keep the lights on and food in the fridge, and what I could have done for my mum today. I wish she was here to kind of be on that receiving end because I know that she didn't choose the life. People say everyone has choices, right? I don't know if my mum really did have the choice. And even when she did try to make the change and get her life back on track and do everything right, he still came and took that all away from her. So I have this mural of me in Perth, which is a beautiful recognition to, I suppose, what I'm trying to do. But when I look at it, I don't see me. I see strength and resilience on the other side of adversity. And I see the little girl in me, clapping for me and saying thank you because she knew that I was always going to come back and save her. And so, if anyone's ever in near that mural or sees a photo of me or hears me on a podcast, it's all about the strength and resilience found on the other side of adversity.
I hope that there's so many women listening to this and they hear you and they get a piece of that themselves.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you about intergenerational strength because that's something that you talk about. So what does that phrase mean in your life and lineage?
Yeah, I suppose, it's often talk about, us as Aboriginal people in our culture, a lot of the trauma that is passed down. And whilst that is very much true, and I don't want to deny anyone of that because we are a product of that, right? But we also are a product of the intergenerational strength and resilience. We belong to one of the largest and longest living cultures in the world. And, when I think about my great-grandmother who was a part of the stolen generation and what they tried to do to her, I want to acknowledge that not everyone made their way home from stolen generation, but my grandmother did. And I'm so thankful for that because the fight that she had in her, that strength and that determination to not lose who she was, and for that to then be passed down, I'm just so proud of her. And I think I've had my struggles today, but so did my grandmother. She had her struggles. They may have been a little bit different, but they were still her struggles. And so I think about the strength that we embody as humans and as staunch Black women as well, that lives on in us. And that's what I want people to lean into. And it doesn't matter about your race, your background, us as humans, we have that ability.
And I hope that more women see and hear that. Again, I in my own family, we have intergenerational domestic violence. And I really see the impact of that, especially on mental health and relationships. It's the trauma just gets passed down. But I know me and my siblings are like, it stops.
Yeah.
With us. Absolutely.
Well, I have this saying that trauma ran in my family until it ran into me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you say that again?
Trauma ran in my family until it ran into me.
High five, sister.
And honestly, and this is the thing, when I talk about this stuff, it's not to bring shame to my family, to my community, because
do you know what? We're all humans, right?
That's right.
We're all little humans.
Yeah.
Doing the best we can with what we've been given.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the beautiful thing about you is that you've taken from these women in your life the intergenerational strength. You've taken those beautiful qualities of resilience, strength, knowledge, and love and kindness, and now you're sprinkling that everywhere.
Yeah. Really just trying to do my best. And I think I've been so lucky with the amount of love and grace that I've received, especially doing this work, because it's really hard when you start to talk about these things, because for so long, for so many generations, people just minded their own business, right? And here's me coming in with this big, loud mouth, wanting to have these conversations, creating spaces to have these conversations. You know, it can be confronting, but again, it's not to bring shame. It's to say, like, this has to stop, because if we look at the generations after generations, we've just accepted this, but it's not okay. There's nothing normal about that. And unfortunately, I've seen too many people lose their lives, their mental health, and broken families, broken relationships because of it. How can we expect people to do better if they don't know better? Yeah. And so that's why Waangkiny exists, is to have these conversations, is to hold these spaces, because there's no shame. There's no shame in this. And I share this also to keep my mum's name and dignity alive.
When you have been on stage, or you've been with Waangkiny out there giving talks to different people or organisations, have there been any moving moments that people have shared with you?
Oh my God, so many. It's actually so beautiful. So many. And you'll be so surprised at some of the things that land with people, right? And you're almost performing, right? But you also don't want to take that human touch away, because this is my real life story. But you'll be so surprised at what people have said connected with them. And whilst they may not have had similar experiences or the same experiences with DV or violence in general, but something will land with them. And they are not shy to let me know about it. And obviously I won't, share too many people's stories, but it has mostly been met with so much love and grace and gratitude. And people say, because of you, I've gone and done X, Y, and Z, or my daughter dressed up for you for school today. And I'm like, this is insane to me. This is so crazy, but it really is that ripple effect. And that's what this is all about, ripple effect of change.
So I know how much energy it takes to get up on stage, to speak, to talk to people. Again, I saw you give so much of your time today connecting with people, and everybody wants to hear your story and have a little piece of you, because you're doing such beautiful work. You have the X factor, right? We talked about you have a gift, and people want to come and stand in your light, which is beautiful, right? That shows that you have an impact on people, that you're inspiring people. But we all need the downtime, right? Because that's also draining of you. What do you do to keep grounded and to take that time to look after you? Because you need to, sister, or you're going to get burned out.
Yeah. It's interesting to talk about this, because I'm still learning. However, I'm a lot more conscious of it now. I'm a people pleaser, especially when you work for yourself and your income is relying on you speaking, giving workshops. So often, find that battle of like, if I don't do this and I don't get paid and I'm so exhausted. So you find yourself switching between the guilt or like your nervous system begging you to have a rest. But no, I think I have some pretty strong boundaries now in terms of how I look after myself. Like, for example, after today, I'm more than likely going to just have couple of hours to myself where I'm not talking, where I can completely decompress, because it's quite natural for me to give a lot of energy. That's who I am, but it does take a toll on me. On the flip side of that is that my come downs, the crashing down, they can knock me for six. But I think for me, I'm a saltwater girl. We come from saltwater people. I think anywhere near a body of water is always just so grounding for me. And you would have seen me looking at the ocean, trying to get near the ocean any chance that I could today, because that's where I come from, the water. And living away from country is obviously really quite hard, but I really try and make a point of when I am home that I do see my family, that I do get back on country and I'm really present in those moments. So I really just try to carve out time for me. And most of the time that is me not talking to anyone and doing whatever I want. And it may be going walking through Kmart with an iced coffee in my hand. It's just that really quiet time.
Okay, Courtney, how can listeners support you in your work with Waangkiny?
Please, go to my website, check it out. I've got an Instagram page as well. I try to share a lot on there, but if your organisation or your community org, your corporate, your schools, your sporting club are keen for a speaker to come in to talk about family domestic violence, gender-based violence, but not just that. Again, the strength and resilience found on the other side of adversity. You can always book me. We can have a conversation around what that looks like. I'm just one little speckle trying to do my part, but we need all the little speckles to do their part. So, if you're keen, interested, please head to my website and get in contact.
Now, you've joined forces with Got Your Back Sister this year for our I Run For Her campaign, which I love that. I love the cross-charitable ventures and projects and that sort of thing. I kind of put it out there to say, hey, do you want to be a part of this? And you were like, yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
Well, I don't think I even batted an eyelid at this at all for many different reasons. Obviously, we are working towards the same things, right? Safer communities, brighter futures, because no woman or child wants to live in fear. They don't deserve to live in fear. So I think when I saw what you do and the family that you've built, I Got Your Back Sister, I was like, this is absolutely a no-brainer. And then with the campaign, I Run For Her, I've done a lot of running in my time and I've ran marathons, and it has been for all the women that we've lost. So it was honestly, it was almost like this was meant to be. So everything fell right into place, and here we are, and I really can't wait for the 12th of October to get that done, and really just so grateful that the stars always end up aligning.
I know. I love the spookiness of that, right? The synergies that happen. And I'm a big believer in divine guidance and divine timing. Things are meant to be. And this has just been wonderful, us connecting and the charities connecting. And I can't wait to see how I Run For Her is going to turn out, but also to see your star rising and all the beautiful, awesome work that you're doing in terms of talking about domestic family violence, sharing your story, and also inspiring young girls to see this resilient, strong, fierce, beautiful Aboriginal woman who's out there kicking goals. Okay, that was a pun because we're both kicking goals on the AFL field, but in life, going for your hopes and dreams. Yeah. I'm like, girlfriend, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're amazing. And I'm going to sit here and just watch you just keep rising over the next few years and know all the good work that you're doing, and knowing that your ancestors, especially your mum and your grandma, watching you, so proud of you.
No, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for those who came before me. So a lot of the work that I'm doing is for them as well. But it's really nice to hear those words. Is this the path I'm meant to be going down? And I always find myself in conversations and moments where I'm like, no, I think I am doing something right. And you were a big reminder of that today as well. And you talk about my energy, you have the exact same. So I think people like us always find their way to each other. And it's interesting, when we had to tidy Mum's house up, I remember walking in and there was $20 on the bench. Remember, she owed me $20?
Yeah.
So I pocketed that. I said, that's mine. She owed me that. But what was also left behind was this handwritten quote by Mum, and it reads, sometimes when things are falling apart, they may actually be falling into place. So it's a nice reminder that everything is not so horrible, and it's a lesson, and a lesson can be taken from any situation.
That was a gift that she left you.
Yeah, the biggest. Yeah.
That was such a beautiful gift. Do you still have that with you?
It's in my older sister's possession because with our family, she's got everything, so I'm waiting for my time for it to come to me. But I've got the photo of it, but I've got it tattooed on me as well. So it's a nice reminder that when I think the world's against me, it's really not. It's actually putting me right where I need to be. And I think we were meant to meet, we were meant to come together, we were meant to work together, because just as much as I'm trying to inspire everyone, you've inspired me today. So thank you.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. So anybody who's listening, I Run For Her, look it up, irunforher.com. I'm giving a shameless plug for I Run For Her. But you know what? It's really important because
No shame.
Because we want people on the 12th of October to put on our 2025 I Say No to Domestic Violence shirts, take to the streets and show everybody who's experiencing or has experienced violence or has been impacted by domestic family violence. Put on the shirts, take to the streets. We're going to say domestic violence isn't okay, and any person that's experiencing it, they're going to see the whole community going, hey, they've got my back. They're behind me. And actually, do you know what? We want you to know it's okay to get help, to reach out for help. There are services out there, Got Your Back Sister, plus many other services that are there that are going to help you if you ask for help. So go to irunforher.com. Thank you, gorgeous Courtney. Thank you so much. Number one, for being an ambassador for I Run For Her. Number two, for being open to collaborating. I love charitable collaborations. It's really wonderful. So thank you so much. And keep doing your awesome work in the world. I said to you today, I feel so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. No, the feeling is definitely mutual, that's for sure. I was definitely meant to be here and do this with you. So I feel so honoured and grateful that, I got this invitation to come and do this work with you.
So, my friend, we can go to Courtney Ugle on Instagram. And your website is Courtney Ugle.
No, the website is just www.waangkiny.com. And there's also just Waangkiny on Instagram as well.
Absolutely. If you want further information, reach out to us or even DM me and I'll send you the links. Or I'll put the links in the show notes. That's all good. Thank you so much, wonderful woman. I cannot wait to see your star shining brightly even more as it keeps ascending.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it myself.